Eala's coach finally breaks his silence, and what he reveals changes everything. After weeks of rumors, tension, and whispers in the locker room, he's done staying quiet. He saw the tears, the arguments, the decisions no one dared to question, and now he's ready to talk. The truth behind the controversy isn't what fans imagined. It's darker, deeper, and far more personal. Was it betrayal? Was it burnout? Or something no one saw coming? One voice, silenced for months, is finally being heard. And when he speaks, the world of tennis will never see Eala the same again. Because this isn't just a statement, it's a confession. Before the controversy, before the headlines, there was only a dream. Eala, the pride of the Philippines, was the prodigy everyone talked about. From the moment she stepped onto the junior circuit, people whispered that she was different, hungrier, sharper, colder under pressure. At 16, she was already playing beyond her years, guided by a man who believed in her more than anyone else. Coach Miguel Santos. Miguel wasn't just a trainer. He was the architect of her rise. A former Spanish tour player with a quiet, analytical mind, he took Alex under his wing at the Rafa Nadal Academy. He shaped her raw talent into a weapon. Every swing, every breath, every heartbeat calculated for victory. Together, they built a story that tennis fans in Manila could hardly believe. A young Filipina breaking into the top rankings, carrying a nation's hope on her shoulders. For years, it worked. Titles, interviews, magazine covers, the partnership looked perfect. But perfection in sports is a dangerous illusion. Behind the polished smiles and post-match hugs, small fractures were forming. Late-night disagreements about training schedules, unanswered messages, moments when Alex's eyes would linger too long on the scoreboard, or Miguel's face would tighten when she ignored his advice. He once told a reporter, "Coaching Alex is like standing near lightning, beautiful, but unpredictable." At the time, it sounded poetic. Now, it feels like a warning no one understood. As Alex's fame grew, so did the pressure. Sponsors wanted her in commercials. The federation demanded results. Every loss felt like betrayal, every win like temporary relief. Miguel noticed her changing, not in her technique, but in her silence. She stopped asking questions after practice. She stopped smiling after victories. The girl who used to celebrate every point was becoming a shadow of her ambition. Then came the 2024 season, the one fans now call the breaking year. In March, Alex withdrew mid-match in Dubai, citing fatigue. A month later, she skipped a tournament without explanation. Social media started buzzing. Is Alex injured? Where's her coach? Something's not right. And when Miguel didn't appear courtside for her next event, the rumors turned into stories. But the truth wasn't about injury. It was about trust. One evening in Madrid, just after practice, Alex and Miguel had a private meeting in the locker area. Witnesses said voices were raised, not screams but sharp words, the kind that cut deeper because they're meant to. "Do you even believe in me anymore?" Alex allegedly said. Miguel didn't answer. He just packed his notes and walked away. No one saw them speak again that night. For weeks, neither side said a word. No statements. No denials. Just silence, the kind that feeds speculation. Fans defended her. Others blamed him. And in the middle of it all, Alex tried to play through the noise, her eyes colder than ever, her performances unstable. Every camera that focused on her saw the same thing. A champion distracted, a fighter losing her rhythm. Commentators called it a confidence slump. Insiders called it a power struggle. Whatever it was, the bond that once defined her career was fading fast. Because behind the trophies and the training reels, there's always something the cameras can't see. The moment a player stops hearing her coach's voice and starts hearing her own doubts instead. And that's where the story truly begins. It began on a humid afternoon in Rome, a small clay court tournament, the kind meant to rebuild confidence, not destroy it. But for Eala, it would become the turning point of her season and her relationship with the man who built her. She had lost the first set badly, 2-6. Her movement looked heavy, her timing off, her focus elsewhere. From the stands, Coach Miguel Santos watched in silence. He didn't shout, didn't gesture, just folded his arms, eyes fixed on his player like a man watching something he no longer recognized. Midway through the second set, Alex looked toward him after a double fault. He didn't move. That silence, caught on camera, became the spark. Because when Alex turned back to the baseline, the frustration in her face told 1,000 stories. And one of them, fans believed, was betrayal. After losing the match, she walked off without shaking his hand. The cameras followed. In the tunnel, a mic caught fragments, words too sharp to ignore. "You stopped believing in me." Then, the sound of a racket bag hitting the floor. Within hours, the clip went viral. Tennis Twitter erupted. Did Alex just fire her coach on camera? Others defended her, saying it was the heat of the moment. But no one could deny what they saw. A player breaking under pressure, and a coach frozen in silence. Behind the scenes, the tension had been building for weeks. Miguel had been pushing her harder than ever, doubling sessions, cutting rest days, and insisting she unlearn certain habits she'd developed on the WTA tour. Alex, on the other hand, felt suffocated. In a private text later leaked to a journalist, she allegedly wrote, "I'm tired of feeling like a machine. He trains me like I don't have a voice." That message lit the fuse. Media outlets began speculating about a toxic player-coach relationship. Every loss was dissected, every expression analyzed. Some said Miguel was too controlling. Others said Alex had become uncoachable, too proud, too emotional. Both versions spread like wildfire. The real trigger came 2 days later. In a post-match press conference, a reporter asked Alex directly, "Are you still working with Coach Miguel Santos?" She paused, looked down, smiled faintly, then said, "Next question, please." That 5-second silence after her answer was louder than any statement. It was the confirmation everyone was waiting for, without her saying a word. Miguel, meanwhile, maintained his silence. He skipped media appearances, declined interviews. When asked by a Spanish newspaper about the rumored fallout, he only replied, "I'll speak when it's time." Those 6 words became a headline across the tennis world. "I'll speak when it's time." And from that moment, the controversy stopped being about a match and became about truth. Fans took sides. Team Alex trended, accusing Miguel of manipulation and outdated methods. Team Miguel fought back, claiming Alex had lost discipline and humility. What started as a coaching rift turned into a global debate about loyalty, burnout, and the price of greatness. But deep down, both of them knew the truth wasn't about blame. It was about 2 people who wanted the same thing, victory, but couldn't agree on what it cost. And as days turned into weeks, that silence between them grew heavier. It wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was personal, because once trust is broken on court, there's no way to play the same game again. The silence didn't last. It never does. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. On sports talk shows, gossip blogs, and even morning radio in Manila. Has Alex Eala fired her coach? Did Miguel Santos break her spirit? The headlines weren't asking questions. They were building verdicts. Clips from the Rome match played on loop. Alex's frustrated glare, Miguel's cold stillness, that unspoken wall between them. Every pause was dissected, every shrug analyzed like a secret code. The once perfect image of unity had cracked wide open, and the world wanted to watch it fall apart. Fans chose sides like it was a war. Some said Alex was standing up for herself, finally taking control of her career. Others accused her of arrogance, calling her ungrateful for turning on the man who made her. It didn't matter that neither of them had spoken publicly. The story had already been written for them. In the Philippines, the reaction hit hardest. Television panels debated whether fame had changed her. Former athletes gave interviews about discipline and respect. Every corner of social media became a battlefield of opinions, memes, and emotional posts. One fan tweet summed it up perfectly. She's 20, not a robot. Coaches forget that players have hearts too. Meanwhile, Miguel Santos had vanished from the public eye. His last social media post was a photo of a sunset captioned, "Some storms are meant to reveal the truth." It only added fuel to the fire. People started reading between every line. Was he hinting at betrayal? Regret? Revenge? Behind the scenes, both camps were trying to contain the damage. Alex's management released a careful statement. Alex remains focused on her training and future goals. Any internal matters will be handled privately. It was calm, professional, and completely unconvincing. Miguel's silence, however, was louder than words. Rumors swirled that he was preparing to go public with his side of the story. Anonymous sources whispered to journalists about tension, disrespect, even unspoken incidents that led to the separation. It was the kind of mystery that the internet thrives on. No facts, just fragments. As weeks passed, Alex tried to move forward. She arrived at the Madrid Open with a new interim coach, a decision that stunned everyone. Reporters hounded her at every turn. "Is this permanent? Are you and Miguel done for good?" But she just smiled, a small, rehearsed smile that didn't reach her eyes. Still, the tension followed her on court. Every missed forehand drew murmurs. Every glance at her new coach became a headline. And when she lost in the second round, the crowd's applause felt colder, mixed with curiosity rather than admiration. Commentators began to say the words no athlete ever wants to hear. She's distracted. Sponsors hesitated. Interviews were canceled. The controversy had escaped her control. It was now shaping her entire identity. And yet, somewhere in Mallorca, Miguel Santos was preparing for his moment. He'd been quiet long enough. He'd watched the world twist the story, question his name, rewrite his legacy. Now he was ready to speak, not in anger, but in truth. He sent a message to a journalist. "Tell them I'll talk. But only once. And when I do, I'll say everything." The announcement spread like wildfire. The man who built her, the man who vanished, was finally breaking his silence. And as the tennis world waited for his words, one question echoed louder than the noise. What could a coach possibly say? That would change everything we thought we knew about Eala. When Miguel Santos finally spoke, the world stopped scrolling. He chose the stage carefully, not a flashy press conference, not a media circus. Just a quiet sit-down interview streamed online titled simply, "My Truth." No sponsors, no PR team, no script. Just him, tired, calm, but carrying the kind of silence that only comes after being misunderstood for too long. The interviewer asked the question everyone was waiting for. "Miguel, what really happened between you and Eala?" He took a breath, then said the words that set the tennis world on fire. "I didn't leave her. I was pushed away. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't angry. But it cut deep." He explained that over the last few months of their partnership, the dynamic had changed. Alex had started working privately with other advisors, ignoring parts of his training plans, canceling sessions without explanation. He claimed that when he confronted her about focus and discipline, she accused him of trying to control her life. "She's like family to me," he said softly. "But family doesn't mean you agree on everything. It means you tell the truth even when it hurts." That line became the quote of the week. Within hours, it was trending. "My truth, Miguel." Some fans applauded him for his honesty, calling him a father figure and a true mentor. Others tore him apart, accusing him of emotional manipulation and public victimhood. They said he was using Alex's name for attention, trying to protect his reputation at the expense of a young athlete's peace. But Miguel didn't stop there. He continued, describing the pressure they both faced, the constant travel, media expectations, and the heavy hand of sponsors who wanted results at any cost. "She was exhausted," he said. "They wanted her to be perfect every day. I wanted her to be human." The interview's tone shifted from confession to heartbreak. You could feel that he still cared for her, even in disappointment. He refused to speak badly of Alex even when the interviewer pushed. "She's not the villain," he said. "She's just lost in a game that eats its own." But no matter how measured his tone, the damage was done. Every outlet clipped and twisted his words. Eala's coach says she's lost. Miguel claims he was pushed away. Toxic split confirmed. Within 48 hours, Alex's team fired back. Her spokesperson issued a short, icy statement. Alex is focused on her tennis. She wishes Miguel well but disagrees with his portrayal of events. That single line split the internet in two again. Her defenders said she was taking the high road. Miguel's supporters claimed it was a cold, PR-driven dismissal of truth. And while the debate raged, Alex herself stayed silent. No interviews, no posts, no appearances. But on the court, her emotions told another story. At her next match in Paris, she broke her racket after losing a close set, something she had never done before. When a reporter asked about Miguel's interview, she whispered, "I'm done talking about the past." The comment section exploded again. People weren't just watching tennis anymore. They were watching a human unravel, live. And as Miguel's interview continued to gain millions of views, one thing became clear. His silence had once protected her. But his truth had unleashed something far more dangerous, a wave of judgment that neither of them could control. Because in the court of public opinion, there are no referees. Only fans, fury, and fragments of truth. The silence couldn't last forever. When a story grows this loud, even the quietest people are eventually forced to speak. And this time, it was Eala's turn. 3 weeks after Miguel's interview, she appeared on a late-night sports program in Singapore. The host introduced her gently, calling her one of the brightest young talents in tennis. But everyone watching knew what the real question would be. Halfway through the interview, the host leaned in. "Alex, your former coach said he was pushed away. What do you say to that?" For a few seconds, she just looked down at her hands. Then she spoke, voice calm, but carrying an exhaustion deeper than anger. "I think we both tried to protect something that was already breaking." The audience went completely silent. No denial, no defense, just honesty. "He was my mentor," she continued. "He built me. But there comes a point when being built starts to feel like being boxed in." She described the pressure that followed her rise, the constant scrutiny, the expectations, the need to live up to the Golden Girl label. "When I lost, people blamed him. When I won, people credited him. Somewhere in between, I stopped knowing who I was playing for. It wasn't bitterness. It was clarity." She wasn't attacking Miguel. She was reclaiming herself. For the first time, fans saw not a headline but a human being. That night, the internet didn't explode with hate. It buzzed with something new. Empathy. Even some of Miguel's supporters softened. One comment under the interview read, "She didn't fight him. She freed herself." The next morning, Miguel posted a single message on his social media. "I heard her words. I understand. No more interviews. No more explanations. Just acceptance." And in that moment, the fire between them finally began to fade. But the truth, the real truth, was that neither of them was right or wrong. They were two people on different sides of the same dream. Miguel had wanted perfection. Alex had wanted peace. And the game they both loved had forced them to choose one over the other. When Alex returned to the court weeks later, something about her was different. Not her serve, not her footwork, but her presence. The tension that once clung to her like armor was gone. During her first match back, after winning a crucial rally, she looked toward the stands, not searching for a face, but smiling at herself. In her post-match interview, she said, "Tennis is lonely. But sometimes you have to lose the person guiding you to hear your own voice again." Those words echoed across every sports page, not as a dig, not as drama, but as the quiet truth of every athlete who's ever outgrown the person who taught them how to win. For Miguel, it was closure. He later joined a youth tennis foundation, mentoring young players with one rule. You can't teach control. You can only teach courage. And as the world watched the two move forward, apart but at peace, something poetic emerged from the chaos. The student and the teacher had both found freedom in letting go. Because sometimes, the loudest silence isn't about betrayal or blame. It's about understanding that growth and separation are often the same thing. Months passed. The noise faded, the hashtags vanished, and the headlines found new targets. But the story of Eala and Coach Miguel Santos lingered, not as a scandal, but as a mirror of what every great athlete faces, the cost of becoming themselves. By the time the next season began, Alex had rebuilt quietly. Her new coaching setup was smaller, simpler. No entourage, no drama, just focus. She trained in silence, spoke little to the media, and carried a calm that felt almost defiant. When asked about her goals, she smiled and said, "To play without fear again." Her words felt heavier than any trophy. They weren't about rankings or fame. They were about peace. Because after all the chaos, that's what the controversy had stolen from her most. And Miguel? He never returned to the professional circuit. Instead, he built something humbler, a tennis academy in Mallorca for underprivileged kids. On its gate, a simple sign reads, "Play with heart, not ego." When a young player asked him once if he missed coaching Alex, he smiled and replied, "Every day. But I'm proud she's writing her own story now." That's the strange beauty of endings. They don't always mean failure. Sometimes they're just transformations wearing pain as disguise. Fans, too, had changed. The same audience that once fueled the drama began seeing both of them differently. Clips of their old matches resurfaced, the fist bumps, the quiet nods, the shared victories, and people started remembering what came before the fall. What once looked like conflict now looked like connection. Misunderstood. Sports journalists called it the split that humanized tennis. It wasn't about betrayal anymore. It was about identity, courage, and the messy truth of chasing perfection in public. When Alex later won a mid-level title in Singapore, she didn't celebrate wildly. She just stood at the center of the court, looking at the crowd, and whispered something no microphone caught. But cameras zoomed in, and her lips formed two words. "Thank you." Maybe it was for him. Maybe it was for herself. Maybe it was for surviving everything that tried to break her, and that's the legacy they unknowingly built together. Not of wins or losses, but of honesty. Of daring to speak even when silence is easier. Of breaking, not to end something, but to begin again. Because behind every great champion is someone who once believed, and sometimes the greatest act of belief is letting go. In the end, Eala's coach did break his silence, and so did she, not to fight each other, but to face what fame and pressure had turned them into. Their story reminds us that in sports, the real battles are never just on the court. They're inside the mind, between loyalty and growth, between pride and peace. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes us watch. Not the trophies, not the scandals, but the humanity beneath them. If this story moved you, subscribe for more untold tennis dramas, where every rivalry hides a truth and every silence has a story waiting to be heard. Because in the world of women's tennis, the real matches are the ones you never see on the scoreboard.